HMP Cornhill in Shepton Mallet. It's a disused prison that's been shut for around about 2 years, and the reason we're here is to raise money for groups of children in South Africa. A load of people have been nominated to spend 24 hours in jail, and the idea is they raise £250 and then they've got 24 hours locked up with us telling them what to do.
I was nominated for Crimes Against Project Management, double booking myself, and constant destruction of co-working.
Rafferty, collect your bag, please. Oh! First smuggling operation.
So I was nominated by my fiancé for excessive use of my iPhone, particularly at social gatherings.
Follow me, this is B block you're going into. When we go inside, we have to go up to the second level. That's the real deal, isn't it? Yes, indeed. Okay.
The idea is that we're asking people to do something they wouldn't normally do. I've got 20 inmates here, and my job is to keep an eye on them, keep them all quite quiet and doing what I want them to do. We've got a very tight schedule as well, which means I've got a routine, they have to keep to it, and everything should go fine. It's a very nice place. It's actually quite quiet, quieter than my own home. But for them, I think it's going to be quite disorientating because it's a small space by themselves, nothing familiar in there.
Coming to terms with themselves now. Sorry.
What we've got to do during the time they're here is to either keep them a little bit awake, and every now and again we'll get them to come out of their cells, stand. We do lots of roll calls, and a lot of that's just to keep an eye on them to see how they are. And then we march them down. They'll go into the courtyard. They'll learn a big dance routine. And sometimes then we take them over to an activities space, which will be more or less useless sections and stuff like that. So they're putting together jigsaw puzzles and then put them back in the box, and they're making labels. So not quite as tedious as most normal prisoners, but most of it's about fun and group activity because they've been isolated for 3 hours, so they come out and they like chatting to each other.
You do get an impression of how, when you leave the cells to do some group activity, to go and do some exercise, to just go for a loo break, coming back to your cell is, your spirit drops. You're losing that kind of camaraderie that for a brief period you've got. And as I say, just within 24 hours, you do get a little taste of what it must be like to have your liberty curtailed.
It's been a huge amount of fun for me. Basically, I'm being very bossy and being in charge of everybody, so I just tell them they've got to listen to me and do what I tell them. It is quite peculiar because it is a prison, and after a while you become a bit like a bossy person in charge of a load of people. Similarly for the inmates, when you're looking at them, they do look a bit scared and a bit frightened. For them it must be quite strange because they're locked up much longer than most prisoners normally would be. And then for me, being in charge of them all, I wouldn't have as much authority as I do have.
I've spoken to quite a few of the inmates on Landing 1, which I've been put in charge of, and there was a change within the first hour. We were talking to them a lot, telling them what to do, and within the hour they were following those rules without even being asked to do them again. So we programmed them quite quickly.
If you treat people with respect, they fall in line very nicely. And the beauty of this is this will be the last time ever that anybody's going to be inmates in this particular prison, which is a tremendous thing for them.
This is me. It's been quite intense, and it's felt like a very genuine experience, starting from sort of walking down in the chains and sort of having commands shouted at you and having to respond in a very serious way, to then coming into the cells and realizing it's really cold and there's no light. And when we were initially put into the cells yesterday afternoon, we actually had no idea how long we were going to be sitting in there.
I think they come face to face with themselves once we put them in the cells. All the doors are locked. Some people's reading books for the first time ever, because what else is there to do?
Definitely. It's the wall.
Mr. Carter. Good night.
The waking up was a nightmare. I've never been so scared in my life.
This morning, the first thing we did when we got up was go to the gym, and we had a fairly challenging circuit training session, which certainly was the first time I've been warm for the previous 12 hours.
It was very cold. I don't think I actually slept at all. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as cold as it was.
They all were asleep within half an hour up in my wing, all snoring very, very heavily. So despite the fact they may say they weren't sleeping, I checked everyone and they all slept quite well.
I'm very uncoordinated, so I wasn't very good at the dancing, I have to say. But I did really enjoy it.
It's really good. And you can MC Hammer. What more do you want?
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. What am I to rhyme and do like it feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such, and this is a beat you can't touch it. I told you, homeboy, you can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we living, and you know you can't touch this. Why you standing there, man? You can't touch this. Yo, sound the bell, school is in, sucker. You can't touch this. Give me a song or rhythm, making them sweat. That's what I'm giving them now. They know. You talk about the hammer, you're talking about a show that's hot and tight. Singles are sweating so fast, I'm a whiteboard tape. To learn what's it gonna take in the 90s to burn the charts. Legit. Either work hard or you might as well quit. That's word, because you know you can't touch this. Break it down. Stop. Hammer time.
One thing that's really special about the event is we've had people from all over the place. We've had people from different parts of the country. We've had head teachers, we had an MP, we've had councillors, we've had a lot of local residents, and we've even got in local former prison officers that used to work here. I think once you look past the bars and you realise actually that even when it was a prison, people formed a lot of friendships here and it became a community. And only in 24 hours we've realised how quickly a community can be formed. You know, everyone came here as strangers and they leave now as friends.
This, as a fundraiser, it sort of captured people's imaginations, and the idea is that we try and connect people to what it is they're raising the money for as well.
SOS Africa is a very important charity. I fundamentally believe that education is the one thing that can really break the cycle of poverty. I had a friend, a very dear friend, who passed away a few years ago, and in honor of his memory, his mother set up a network of everyone who knew him, and with the aim being that every year we do something that matters.
While they're here, we make sure we share the stories of the children whose lives they're supporting, which I think is really key to it, and it makes it so much more special when you suddenly go, the reason you're in here is for those little people over there who are struggling, and this is going to make a huge difference to them.
Education is probably one of the most valuable things in breaking out of poverty and advancing yourself, so I think it's a really good cause.
Ready? Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Inmates, listen up. We have something important to say.
Thank you for going to prison for us. You have no idea how much it means to us. You are fighting us.